Hello everybody, this is the part 3 of CSE 545 software security course project. This is the part 3 where we classify whether an application and an Android APK is a malware or a benign application based on its properties. So now you are actually looking at the Git repository. Here we have different folders. I will just give you a brief overview on how this project works. So first of all, if you go to the modules folder, you can see 3 folders, out of which the first one is APK extraction. If you open the APK extraction, now this folder, now if you get an Android APK file, or if you have a bunch of APK files, what you have to do is you have to paste them inside this folder. Once you paste them inside this folder, you can run this git bash script, which will extract the Android manifest.xml file from all these APK files and paste them here. And once you have got the XML files, what you have to do is you have to copy the XML files from this folder and go to this second folder in the module XML to CSV file and paste it into these 2 folders. Now when you are actually building the machine learning model, you will be having a set of benign and malware apps. So when you generate the when you extract the XML files, you have 2 folders here to paste the XML files. So if it is a benign APK, paste it inside this folder, and if it is a malware, paste it inside this folder. So I have already have a lot of manifest XML files from an Android APK data dump that I used. Now once you have pasted the APK files in these 2 folders, not the APK files, the XML files in these 2 folders, run this Python command. So this Python command, this Python file will open these Android manifest XML files, extract the permissions from them, and store them into a different CSV file. Now just a little overview on how we classify whether an application is malware or benign. So we can actually classify an app based on 2 properties. One is the permissions that it uses, and also a combination of the permissions and the receiver and the broadcast receiver intents that an app uses. So we actually we teach the machine learning algorithm about the permissions that a malware app uses and a benign app uses. Then we use this data to classify whether a new app is whether based on the permissions that a new app uses to predict whether that app is a malware or a benign. So here if you look at it, this first method just only evaluates the permissions. Second method checks both. It takes a combination of the permissions and receiver. Now this Python script will generate 4 files. One is called benign, 2 files each for benign and malware. So here if you look at it, you have benign permissions and receiver, malware permissions and receiver. So what we do, why we have actually generated it into 4 files is because before you send the data to the machine learning algorithm, you have to specify what is malware and what is benign. So for easiness, we have actually done this. Now once you have got the CSV files, there is a Microsoft Excel file called all permissions. This is there on the resources folder. What you have to do is open each file and paste it on the sheet called permissions underscore only and permissions underscore receiver. You have to paste them here, and on this left side, on this column that is marked red, you have to specify whether the app is a malware or a benign. So do the same for if you are actually building a system with 2 systems, that is permissions only, and you want to build a machine learning with permissions and receiver only, paste them here. Once you have pasted the entries of both the benign and malware here, this one has about 900 entries. So here this is from where the malware APK's entry starts. Now once you have copy them here, open the CSV permission only sheet and save this sheet as a CSV file. Save the second sheet as a CSV file. Both of them has permissions only and permission receiver only. Once you have saved them, go back to your main repository, go to the resources folder and paste them here. So here we have two CSV files, permissions underscore only and permissions and receiver underscore CSV only. Once you have pasted them here, you can actually run the Python file. No, okay, just one more thing. Okay, so this Android malware Android underscore malware Python file will build the machine learning model and specify and predict whether the input is a malware or benign. So this is the file. Now let us actually run it. Before we run it, this file has 4 functions. I'll just give you a brief overview about the different functions this have. So the first method, which is called training model initialize. Here you can specify which all machine learning models that you want to use in the system. So in our system we are using logistic regression, multinomial NB, k-neighbors classifier and random forest classifier. After you have specified that, the second method is get prediction for input after training. So what this method does is that for this method, if you give a CSV file, that is the ones that we generated, which is permission only and permission receivers only, and we give a sample permissions used APK, this method will build a machine learning model, teach the system and give us an output on whether the input belongs to a malware or a benign app. And this method will give output, it will actually return a matrix with the output of all the models that you give. This is one method. And you have the second method, get prediction for training data after. I'm sorry about that vehicle's loud exhaust, it just happens all the time. Okay, so this method, get prediction for training data after training. So what this method does is that it actually trains the method and gives us an accuracy score based on the training data itself, and this will also return a matrix with the input corresponding to all the different models. So now let us actually, the other two methods are just to print the output in a human readable format. Now if you run this program, you can see, let's look at the first output. The first output is the first output is accuracy score when you use permissions and receiver. Now if you look here, we have specified the model here, logistic regression, multinomial, k-neighbors, random forest classifier. It will specify the accuracy when you predict based on one of the training data, from the test data, and the difference between the training data and the test data. So these are the different predictions, and out of this, the random forest classifier has the highest accuracy at 0.95%. And second one is, here we are only using the permissions. If you look only with the permissions, we can see that we have the same format. Here the random forest classifier here again still has the highest prediction rate, accuracy rate at 0.93. It has actually decreased because we are only using the permissions. Now the second one is, I'm just using a sample input. So this one is actually predicting for this input, which is an APK that uses these 3 permissions: access network state, access get task, and access internet. Now we are actually evaluating based on the permissions and receiver CSV file. Here all of them is given the output that this is a benign application, and this one is only using the permissions only evaluation. They have also specified that they have to be benign. Next, we have given the permissions that are used by a malware app. Now this is actually quite a long file. This is how the input would go. These are the permissions that this Android APK is actually requesting. So based on this, we are actually asking the machine learning algorithm to predict, and all the algorithms have predicted that this to be a malware APK. So this is the program. I have actually created a virtual workspace on the GitHub. So this project can be run without a computer on the GitHub. So you just have to go to the GitHub virtual space, and if you run this program, Python and Android malware, you will get the same output. This time this is actually run on the GitHub's virtual workspace on the internet. So every time this program runs, it is actually creating a machine learning model and teaching the system. And I have actually written all the instructions. And just one more thing, if you go to the resources folder, this is where the all permissions Excel file, this is where you can actually edit the process the CSV file data. And I've also added another Word document to specify the instructions on how to generate the model and how to run the system. And to set up the developing environment, I have written a detailed information on the Git readme page on how to run this program. So this is our machine learning algorithm. And just one more thing on the accuracy. If you can see, the highest accuracy that we have got is 0.98, and the least that we got was 0.83. That was the least accuracy that we have got. So in all cases we got an accuracy of more than 70%. Okay, thank you.